Hi, and welcome to the Valorous Circle podcast, where I interview entrepreneurs, business owners, and we talk about success, startup, and next steps. Today, I'm really thrilled to have Adbeel with me from, Adbeel, we'll talk about the multiple companies here in just a moment, but I've worked with Adbeel for close to 10 years, and Adbeel's just got a great story about how he got started in the metal building business and kind of how he's grown that and how now he's got a brand new entrepreneurial venture related to that. So we'll kind of unpack that today and walk through. Adbeel, as we get started, can you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump into some history and how you got started in the business?
Yeah, well, thank you, Jonathan. First of all, I hope you're doing great too. But yeah, I started in the business in when I was like in high school. It's kind of like a thing in our industry, our family started working in the similar fields, and I started building metal buildings when I was in high school as a summer job, and I liked it and really enjoyed it. And then from there, it just happened that I applied to work at the shop. I started bending, I started welding. And then from there, I went into like an office, and this was a different company. This is a company, a competitor now that I worked for almost probably close to 7 years. And I moved up the ladder, and then from there, I'm still here. I'm still doing the same industry. I just love it, and I continue to want to expand and grow the metal building business.
Now, I know your new venture is based in Texas. You've been up in Michigan and doing business around the Midwest and all that. And if I'm not mistaken, the new venture is really focused on Texas and surrounding states down there. Is that accurate, Adbeel?
That is correct. So Wolf Steel Buildings is my new venture that I started this year, and it's exciting. Just coming back home, I was in Michigan, where I joined Midwest Steel Carports in 2017, I believe. Yeah, it's 2017, April 2017. And I helped grow that business to a $17 million company. And what was that, 5 years ago? Because I just resigned as CEO and president this year, and to go off and come back home. So my whole family, a lot of my relationships that I built when I was living in Texas, it's all here, and I want to establish a family, and that's why Wolf Steel Buildings is my new venture, and it's exciting too, because I love the startup phase of a business more than whenever it starts to just settle down. And
well, and what a great experience to take the years of experience that you now have and restart. It reminds me of a quote I once heard from Henry Ford, and somebody asked him in the heyday of his career, what would happen if you lost everything? And not that you have, but he said, well,
yeah.
I could rebuild it 5 times faster because now I know all the mistakes. And it strikes me that while you're still involved, I know with Midwest Steel Carports, that even though you stepped down as CEO, that this new venture, you really have the opportunity to take all those amazing lessons you've learned over the last decade or so and put them into not only a better business, but better serving your customers and really just advancing in the marketplace. So it's really exciting.
You hit the nail right at the spot, because that's exactly what's going on with Wolf Steel. Is like, I've already planned for the next 4 to 5 years how I'm gonna grow it. With Midwest Steel, I love the fact that I got to experiment, I got to learn, I got from my failures, and also from the growth. How it happened and what was that, the right ingredients to make that happen. And now with Wolf Steel, it's actually, I feel a lot more of a clear vision, a lot more of a, like I really know what I'm doing very clearly. But there's a level, because with Midwest, we hit 17 million in revenue last year. And now, with Wolf Steel Buildings, I know I can hit that, but how am I going to get it to another level that's where I get to learn again and continue to grow. And that's the only way to grow is to continue to learn and learn from our failures and also learn from others.
Oh, absolutely. Talk to us a little bit, Adbeel, about the metal building business. I mean, I know when I first heard about it and didn't know a lot about it, I was thinking, okay, these are the, the metal carports that I see along people's houses or out in the country and things like that. And it's really just blown my mind to see the type of buildings and stuff that you put together a little bit. Talk to us a little bit, the audience that may not be familiar with metal steel buildings. Why are they so valuable, and what makes them such a great product for you to be building a business around?
Yeah, so well, let me give you a little background from the Midwest
Please.
perspective and then what's going on here in Texas, which is a whole different world. So,
Okay.
in the Midwest perspective, very commonly known as the pole barn. So, that's the key term or the key word that everybody says, oh, I want to build a pole barn. I want to build a metal building or pole barn. And the carport industry was seen as something more like just just like a carport, like something like a tin, they call it like a tin, something to just like, store something, not really a big warehouse or like a big metal building. And that's where Midwest Steel Carports started to expand into, is starting to build more of a bigger warehouses and bigger buildings using tubular tubes and framing instead of metal or instead of wood. I'm sorry. So that's where, and then the faster lead times and the way we've scaled the business to cut down the time that it takes to build them and to deliver, and also the service, the full complete process. So that's how Midwest has been very successful, and the business in general. And what I'm seeing here in Texas is a lot more competitive. It's expanded more when it comes down to metal buildings because there's another type of structure, which is also called the red iron I-beam structure, that is also very popular, as well as where it's kind of like the pole barn over there is more wood in the Midwest, and here is that. But the concept is that now it's being used a lot for barn dominiums. So it's a new challenge, and I'm actually really excited for Wolf Steel Buildings, because if I can find a way to allow the consumer base to understand that my type of product is also great for barn dominiums, it's going to be a whole different ballgame, and I'm starting to feel it, and it's looking good. So the future is bright there.
Oh, what a great concept! And I know, all over I see these barn dominiums popping up, and lots of talk about them. My neighbors, even though I live out in the country, they just built one, and it's a beautiful structure, and you'd never know it was that quote unquote barn or pole barn or anything like that. It's amazing how they turn out and how great they look when it's done. So very cool,
Yeah. And
very cool.
on my channel, Wolf Steel Buildings, for the YouTube channel, I'm actually visiting some buildings, and I've had two barn dominiums that I've already recorded and put on there. One of them is just phenomenal to check out, so I'll send that out to you, Jonathan, to check it out.
Yeah, please do. We'll put a link in the video description here so everybody can see that and check that out. I know they're great to see those walkthroughs and what can be done nowadays. So,
Awesome.
talk to me about just success. Obviously, you've been in the industry for a while. You've demonstrated some amazing success, Adbeel. What do you think is the key to what's brought you success in what your ventures and what you've done?
I think a couple things. First one, I think, is you master one thing. Like, sometimes we're trying to be all over the place, or at least I was thinking that, and it's just like, if you stick long enough with one thing, you're gonna become such a master of it that that's where you start standing out. So for me, it has been these metal buildings. Like, I've done it since I was 16 years old. I'm 30 now, so I know a lot about these buildings, and I still have a lot more to learn. And I think that's one key thing. Another thing is I mean, success depends what we're defining success, right? So success can be different things. To me, success is reaching new levels, and in order to reach new levels, for me, has been to not be perfect. Just start, just go, and then from there to be learning all the time. So how can I become excellent? Not necessarily perfect, but excellent. So how do I improve my service to be more, more excellent? How can I improve my performance to be more excellent? To get closer to excellence. And as you're going through it, not necessarily waiting for the perfect moment, and that requires a lot of grit, a lot of just pushing hard, pushing, and just pushing until you just don't give up. Basically, you just don't give up.
Well, I think that's great advice, and it's something I know I've seen in our business a lot recently too, and that's it. The power of becoming an expert in a specific niche versus trying to be everything to everybody, because
Hmm.
you can't develop the skills inside internally for operations and delivery and all that, and you can't can deliver consistent product to your customers if you're doing something new every single order that you get. So that
Hmm.
expertise and that focus, I certainly think is critical. And I love your concept too of continuous improvement versus perfection out of the door. I think so many entrepreneurs get stuck in, I'll start tomorrow, but I need to improve this first. While I think most successful entrepreneurs would say, hey, once we had a core concept, we started knowing we were going to continue to improve that, but we had to start in order to build that momentum, to build that growth. There's never, I always joke, there's never a perfect time to have a kid. There's never a perfect time to do a lot of things. And I think, with business, it's the same. We need to just, so many times we need to begin that process, begin moving, and then, as you talked about, adjust and shoot for excellence and an increase in that excellence with every customer, with every project. So great advice. I really love that. Talk to me a little bit about hurdles. We also know that entrepreneurial journey can be filled with some hurdles, and I know you've had some of those as well. Can you share any of those hurdles that you've run into, and maybe how you've overcome any of those, Adbeel?
Yeah. Well, I've gone through a lot of hurdles, and I think is the first step is like just how you take that perspective of it. So I don't really call them hurdles. I guess it's just challenges to me. Like that's just okay.
Sure.
It's a challenge, but it is a hurdle, so it's a challenge. But um, some of them have been like, for example, when I first started with Midwest was low cash. No, low cash. So you have to be efficient with your marketing. You have to be efficient with your decision making. Another thing was with low cash was for us was low inventory. Like, we have to be so accurate with the amount of inventory we purchase because inventory to us is about 40 to 50% of our P&L. So like,
Okay.
so it really makes a big difference in how when we first started in Midwest Steel. So that was a big hurdle to manage that inventory and become really, really precise and accurate and not have any waste. Um, Another challenge is just now here in Wolf Steel Buildings, for example, it's very competitive out there. So the product can be seen as a commodity. And so how can we improve our sales? How can we improve our sales pitch and our sales presentation to win those customers? And that can come within the marketing that is more, I think is becoming a lot more stronger than your sales. It's like marketing is really very, very important. So those are some of the hurdles that I'm going through right now with Wolf Steel and that I've gone through with Midwest Steel.
No, and I think again, really good share to talk about that. It is, I think we all find ourselves when there's always competitors. In fact, I think I'd be scared if I was starting a business and there weren't any, that I'd missed something. But then it's how do you set yourself apart? What have you found in that setting, either through Midwest Steel Carports or through Wolf Steel? What have you found to help you and help your customers choose you over your competitors? How have you made yourself stand apart?
So one of the biggest challenges, for example, with Midwest was the service within the industry has not been great. So it's just focusing a lot on the service and providing amazing service and amazing leadership to be able to provide that great service to the customer. So that's been one, and also education. To me, it's been a lot of education. So educating our customers, and that's using a lot of like YouTube and guides, a lot of social media with a lot of transparency has been another key factor to being able to stand out when it comes down to Midwest. And I'm kind of applying the same thing with Wolf Steel buildings. I'm just going a little bit to another level of using a little bit more of a lot of education, but also putting a face to the organization, which is me. So in my YouTube channel, you'll probably see that I'm out there. I'm speaking about these buildings. I'm putting a face to these buildings because there's a bad thing going about contractors. For example, for Wolf Steel buildings, or the way I see it is, I've seen an opportunity, and the opportunity is contractors are not seen as great service, or great, great service to the customer. So I've actually taken it to where I'm using YouTube that I'm the contractor, but I know my stuff, and we're also providing great service and educating the customer to make them have a different view of the contractor norm, or how would you say that, Jonathan? What people say. I can't think of that word.
No, I think I know where you're going, and I've seen you do it through the years where you share your knowledge and you share your expertise because it has demonstrated that you are a trusted resource then in the industry. You've not necessarily tried to hold everything close to the vest and go, wow, I'm not going to tell you. You've always been very open to share. Here's how we do things. Here's how we build this. Here's what makes this building different. Because by sharing that, again, you're creating tremendous expertise through my eyes as the customer, looking at you and going, okay, I can now trust Midwest Steel or Wolf Steel buildings to build the building that I want and to do it the right way. Because I think the biggest fear as a consumer, especially when it comes to construction projects like that we don't know about, is, my goodness, that's a big investment.
Yes.
We know what we want, and we want it to be done right. The worst thing that could happen would be to have it done and then done improperly. And so I think being able to create that trust that you've done such a great job about, to me, is so important, and I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's a critical part of anybody's success. So,
yes.
talk to me a little bit about maybe an interesting story. Has anybody, we try to keep it family friendly, but has anybody ever asked you to build a building for something that surprised you, or you ever found anything during a construction project that might dazzle and amaze, or at least surprise any of our podcast listeners?
Like a story about a customer.
Yeah. I mean, without any names, but I don't know. Did you ever put up a building only to find out that before marijuana was legal, it was supposed to be a grow room or anything like that? And I don't know. I'm guessing at stuff here.
I mean, there's just a lot of interesting stories. Most of all, like, I have customers that still reach out to me. So, for example, last week, I'm sorry, one of my very first customers when I first started, with Midwest, and I'll mention his name. He'll be okay with it. His name is
All right, no
Vasil,
problem.
and he's out of Howell, Michigan. And he always just reaches out to me, and I love that. Like, that's just the best part of this is, like, when you help a customer, they're super happy. He reached out to me last week. Hey, I got someone here on the phone right now that wants another metal building, and I showed him the building that you built, and it's just, and he loves the building. So,
well, one of the things we love to ask Adbeel is advice. You've obviously demonstrated, some proven growth, and you've been successful. If you're speaking to someone who's looking at either starting up a business maybe for the first time, or maybe they're a couple of years in, but they're trying to figure out how do they transition from a job to a business, what advice would you give to that entrepreneur?
yeah. So, There's a couple. So the first one, so depends on if it's a startup or they're in the business. But if it's a startup, what I mentioned is don't wait to be perfect. Just go ahead and start. Just start, and you'll fit and start paying attention to the customer. That's it. Just pay attention. What are they saying? What are the things that you're not delivering to them? And then from there, you just start improving. Okay, you just start figuring out a way based on what they're telling you. And don't be afraid to ask your customers for advice on why you lost that sale or what is it that's not convincing them to go with you. So ask them the questions, and most of them will share. And I'm going through that with Wolf Steel Buildings right now. I asked the customer, what didn't convince you to go with us? And that way I can start improving my branding or my marketing or my education to make them feel that they can trust me there. That would be on the startup aspect. If you're already startup and you're kind of stuck, one of the biggest things to me was like, as long as you're driving sales, you'll figure out the rest. So
Mm,
how do you
good
drive
advice.
sales? Is you focus on marketing and you focus on sales. Like if you drive, you learn those things, and that should always be in your hands. In my opinion, is like grab that marketing and that sales, take control of it, own it, and learn what it takes to drive the sales, and the rest you'll figure it out. Because if you're most businesses that start, you're a great plumber, you're a great builder, you're great at making websites. Basically that's how I've seen most entrepreneurs start. And it takes something different, which is learning business, to be able to grow it. And so you'll if you can learn sales and how to drive your marketing, and then from there you'll figure out the rest, your operation, you'll figure it out right behind it, because you'll have to catch up with all that growth. So
Oh, that's
that would be
absolute
my suggestion.
absolute gold there. No, I couldn't agree with you more, Ed Beal. It is so true to watch. If there's sales there, then there's always revenue and income to pay for the things you need to do to deliver on it. Especially when you've got your margins in the appropriate spot and all that. I think that's just really, really good advice. Combined with the just get started and get moving. I think two great pieces of advice for anybody, no matter where they're at in the process. So
Yes.
I really, really do appreciate that. One of the other things we kind of love to do, and this one actually, we ask a random question, and this one may or may not be relevant to you being kind of in the construction field, but have you ever been electrocuted?
Electrocuted.
I mean, you
Yes.
gotten a really good shock maybe from an electrical outlet when you were doing an install or a build?
Yes, and yeah, but they're very, very, very minimal. But
Okay.
I've been close to an electrocution, which is I was constructing, and when we level, we don't back then when I was in like high school, we weren't really using laser. Like now,
Okay.
you use laser to level out, your buildings, and we use a string, and so we were tightening that string around the building, and I'm normally supposed to be using it from or viewing or stretching the string from the inside of the building. So if it pops away. Well, I was still learning, so that like popped right in my eye and left me like
Oh my.
like a mark. Yeah, and it was loud, and I felt like close to an electrocution in a way, but not necessarily the feeling. But it was just like instant. And whenever you mentioned that about construction, it reminded me of that. Like it was scary, that string just like pop,
Oh,
because
I
we
bet.
stretched it out too much. And but yeah, that was a good memory.
Oh, that is. One of the other, you mentioned laser leveling, and one of the things I love to ask people in the trades is talk to me about the tools you use. Do you have a particular brand that you like, a particular tool that you find yourself going to time and time again that you could share with it all?
Well, I haven't been in construction for a while, like actually doing it, and a lot of my work is being subcontracted. So I don't really have a specific tools that I'm very, very fond of. But the one that's very, very common that I see on all our subcontractors and is DeWalt.
Okay.
That's just a common one that I see a lot and very, very popular. But specifically that we have. no, not for me, because I don't build with my hands as much anymore. That's just
Well, and that's,
me.
yeah, you've moved beyond that. You're now running the business instead of out there doing that, which is admirable at all levels. But I always love to laugh. We talked to a commercial plumber the other day, and he's big in the Milwaukee and loves the Milwaukee stuff, and his team loves the Milwaukee stuff. And sometimes it's DeWalt, and not that it matters per se because we don't sell any of it, but it's just always a curious question to ask and see what type of things are there. You mentioned the laser levels, and one of the big improvements that you've seen as far as technology. Are there any other things that have changed in the last number of years from a technological perspective that have helped you or your crews install buildings more effectively?
Not necessarily from the construction aspect. There are some, changes within the industry that have improved. From like we used to, for example, back then we used to like carry the, heavy roll up doors or trusses, sometimes with, all manual. And now we use like these electric pulleys to just do the work for, or like, raise them all up. So there's been a lot of improvements that have been done on the job site. But what's really helped a lot in the construction side has been like a configuration. So like for metal buildings now, customers can go on online, and you can just build your metal building, design it the way you want, from doors and windows, and really have the specs of like, how far you want it from the edge to the corner and all that, which then makes your dream, very real. And we simply manufacture it. We quote it out for you. We first quote it for you, then we manufacture it for you, and then from there, the builder that's going out there knows specifically where that door is going, where that window is going, and with specific measurements. So that technology has really shaped the industry to make it even simpler and more like for the customer to be able to make their dreams a reality.
Oh, no, good share. And that's, I can imagine you being able to visualize that building prior to probably also really helps in setting expectations properly because then, when that building exists and it matches that drawing, it's really difficult for somebody to go, oh, I envisioned something different because you're both looking at that model and able to
Mhm.
see that. I can see that just be a huge game changer, probably as far as change orders and fixes and things like that too, I would think.
Oh
So.
yeah, it's like minimize change orders and make sure that we're on the same page. So that technology has really helped the industry in general. So.
Well, Adbeel, any parting advice for business leaders like yourself? You've obviously given us a number of great things too that come to mind immediately. Or just get started, and then obviously, and now I of course totally lost the second one as we're talking. But get started, focus on the niche, and move from there. Anything else you'd like to share with our viewers today?
It's well, no, I mean, I think if I reflect back, for example, my Midwest journey, um, I think the best part was always the journey. The
Yeah.
best part now I think about it is, and I reflect on it and I love it, is just the journey. That's really I remember the most. Not necessarily hitting 17 mil. We were part of the Inc. 500 list. Last year, 2 years ago, fastest growing companies in the U.S. And
Wow. Congratulations.
you know, trophy, right?
Yeah.
Yay! But at the end of the day, I think I remember more the challenges, the relationships built, the small hurdles that you're going through. Um, yeah, I even remember when we were in the office when we were first starting. Like we only had one phone, so we would say, can you please hold? And we'd put him on mute, and we'd throw the phone to me or to person that was with me, and that would be like transferring the call because we only had one phone. So
I
like
love
those
it.
little memories, like those are really what really stays to me now, and something that now in my new journey is like I'm taking the moment to really be proud of the journey that I'm going through, and that every step of the way means a lot, and not get too focused on, where I'm going to be, like, oh, where I want to be. That will come. That will come. So.
Great stories, great advice, great feedback all the way around. Adbeel, we just wish you the most blessings with your new business, and I hope it continues to scale well. Well, I know you still have some involvement at Midwest. I just so exciting to see you grow and expand. And candidly, I want to just thank you again for sharing your knowledge and your experience. It's truly valuable to everybody. We're going to go ahead and put a link here for Wolf Steel Building so people can go check out the brand new website and make sure that if they're in the area, they can reach out to you. If anybody's got questions about metal buildings and that type of stuff, is it fair game for them to reach out to either Midwest or Wolf Steel for any questions?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, reach out. I will, if you want. Also, I can put my personal email address. I love helping. I love helping. I love sharing my knowledge, so I can even help and then connect them with, whether if they're in the Midwest, connect them with Midwest Steel. And then if you're in Texas, you can connect over here with Wolf Steel Building. So. Both organizations are amazing organizations, and we love serving, and that's what we're all about. It's about serving and really educating to make sure that we're the right fit as well for you, and that we can help you in your journey with the metal buildings. So
Awesome. Well, Adbeel, again, thank you so much for your time today. Have a great day.
thank you. You too.